Lord. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this brief. 28th of 4th, 2018. This is obviously having to rest. Everything's interlinked. If I can talk. I just watched this video that I knew a while ago about how the life birth records created by man and woman, couple, married or not, gives obviously creates a lovely bundle of joy, the baby, and obviously the joy of that baby, of the birth. The state comes in, the representative, the public servant, employee, no matter where you are in the world. I'm sure it runs the same system. It goes back to the Vatican, the ownership, and if you look into, unless you claim back, I mean, how many thousands of people, even now, I mean, having been babies, are believing that they need to sign these documents to hand over the ownership of their property, i.e. boy or girl, baby, to the state. And that creates the corporation-owned birth certificate creation. The birth certificate, if you look at it, you cannot use it as ID. And it's just basically to be traded upon for all corporations to make profit out of the trust account. It's a trust created a value. You can't, I mean, so many people have been trying to set up their own trusts in connection with the costs of certain people are charging over 10 grand. I mean, average Joe Blog, ordinary people out there, who's got that spare to fund somebody to do all this hard work? And I saw a post when somebody did this video yesterday, and I mentioned about there's thousands of people are got no jobs, they're homeless, disabilities like I, and literally entrapped into the system. I know all this, a lot of this knowledge for years. I've tried a lot of things before I got so ill, but my health has deteriorated, so I'm entrapped. I know that as a living woman. When I've tried to do things, which I knew how to do things before, my conditional acceptance of a contract, because that's a lot of it's also to contract law. And when one looks in depth and you're losing, you start learning about legalese wording and, you know, the definitions, and everything also comes in where, I don't know where you are in the world, but in the United Kingdom post box is a point of business, a point of a contract. So, unfortunately, if you don't respond to a certain period of time, conditional acceptance offer, recount claim offer, provide this, that, and the other. I've done all this process before, and it didn't help that my personal circumstances, my so-called reality, and this earth is completely changed. And therefore, I'm not in that position myself. I know my body, my physical self is entrapped and controlled by the Vatican. And it goes so deep-rooted. Now, when I did a search today to see what advice services, what's available now, well, these men and women, certain positions are interlinked in business and they know each other. And a lot of them might not know half of this information. Some people do, especially when they go to certain education establishments and a certain, say, for example, you learn Latin and certain subjects. Well, the connections, I've just, a simple example, I just stumbled across certain information. It's too much to even just consider right now because I'm so ill. But at least I tried things already myself, and some things did work. But when the point I'm coming to, when one loses your health and you don't have your support network you used to say, family, friends around anymore, like you perhaps used to, that's why there's so much push for so much agendas going on, not just agendas, but like when you learn so many subjects, you go, I mean, my subjects over the period of years were studying on contract law, commerce, maritime law, law of the sea, Franco Collins. If you want to search YouTube channel out for Franco Collins videos of canon law, the canons are so important to learn. And I'm not in that position anymore because my health, I didn't expect it as I now got old, not that old, but older. I need more help than by the state, basically. And they see, once you get the NHS number, the national insurance number, the driver licence, everything you can do is state funded by the public purse, i.e. your taxes. And please don't get me wrong. I appreciate hard people that really did help me last year. And I know what's going to happen. Well, I can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. But from experience, what I've gone through already, I know it's going to happen to me. But I know spiritually within myself, and I've worked on me because I've had to put all my studies, what I've learned and what I know on hold. And that just needs to be like that. But if you're able to learn more and do more and help other people to know how to, it's not about living, it's not about pre-men or women of the land, that kind of theory. There's blogs, information about subject titled Lose the Name, because it's fraudulent to use a name that you don't own. You don't own the birth certificate name. And so many people around the world has got into trouble. I mean, I've seen people doing blogs and videos and the system is so big and so fast and so in-depth. Unless you have the skills and ability, independent health and independent support, that's adjoining this business about your birth certificate, well, not yours per se, the Vatican's birth certificate owned. It is absolutely bigger. From all these years, I've studied commerce and contract law, and now I've become so ill I can no longer do that. I'm doing this stream to just say it's up to you what you want to do. Why do you think so many thousands of people around the world are living off the grid, are getting out of the system? And all due respect, they might already use the state system, whatever country, whatever corporate entity they live in. For example, if you didn't know, City of London, its own entity is corporation. And the documents I used to do, my paperwork, and I'm no longer able to do all that. As I said, I physically don't have the strength and help. And if one, especially in my own UK, if one tries that again and to consider an offer like I've done before, then unfortunately, how this in 2018 now, I mean 2014, 15, 16, my personal experience of situations I ain't going to go into right now, is that it's got so rigid and so tightened up. Anyone that has a slight illness or disability, well, they're going to try and put another label on you, and especially in the United Kingdom. And they will deliberately twist things that you're trying to do or say to create another disability, another label. And the big emphasis, no disrespect to anybody, by the way, when I say this, of a psychological disability. When you research over the latter years I have on the truth about psychiatry, dentistry, natural health and so forth, for good, very good people out there, that who's helped me awaken up to subjects I didn't even know about a while ago, but I do now. So I know I will be going somewhere and end up where I wouldn't like it, but I know for my physical and my current situation, that's the only recourse. There's no lawful remedy for me. But I like to think people that are clued up as well, that do have the health and do have the network around them, are absolutely already able to get out and push the boat out, because you need to get off. I'm not saying what to do, but suggestion is to get off the to know what maritime law means, to never ever end up in their court system. And that's why so many thousands of people are locked up. And it's all to do with finance, commerce. Because the Vatican, oh gosh, you wouldn't believe how, this is why people are going spiritually. I mean, there's like an unseen kind of sense of people going within themselves consciously, you know, within their spirituality, whatever belief system you have, because you know the system's rigged. I'm just talking on the basics. I've just studied 4 years. And, oh, hiya, Chris. How are you? It's their way to here too. Yeah, absolutely. As me not giving in, right? Because before I got worse in my health, I studied all this. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I studied just as much as a barrister or lawyer. It's just titles and men and women in the job roles, isn't it? So, obviously, thank you ever so much, and you too. I hope you're well. I hope you're well too. And God bless you too, you know. And thank you very much for your comments yesterday. So, yes, I saw this video on Facebook, and it's something I've seen. And if anyone, if you're looking at this, what I commented on a stream yesterday, and well, a couple of videos actually, it was about I've not seen in United Kingdom, unless I'm not looking in the right places, but I've not experienced locally or online anyone with similar position to I that's been successful to actually claim their live birth record, the live birth record back, and revoke the birth certificate, Vatican name. Everything in business, and that's what's business. As I said, commerce. Like, when I found out the letterbox, I mean, I don't know what it's like in America. You got a post box just outside your lawn or house, or whatever, I suppose. But in UK, we have a letterbox attached to the main door. So that's like a postal service, a Crown-owned postal service. That's a place of contracting by post. Well, why do you think all the digital services are here? I.e. to everything is online, as my experience recently has found out, is to create the joinder. The joinder I'm talking about is like the birth certificate name with your flesh and blood and living soul, your man or woman. Now, if your child is under 7 years of age, then if anyone knows of this information, just get your paperwork as much as possible, you know, and do not sign. I mean, if people can know this and share the information for the next generation, to stop them signing away their property, the baby or joy, when they have it. Now, nowadays, they can have, you know, children and all sorts of mannerisms and technology about. But it's still the principle. It's still the parent, or if it's a single, you know, single dad or a couple, whatever orientation they are, should I put it that way, to be polite without offending anybody. Whatever your lifestyle situation, and you even adopt a child, I believe from it, yes, that's true. We are regarded as commodity and borrow money against our birth certificate, social security number in the US. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because absolutely. Let me just read that out then. Just bear with me. Yes, that's true. We are regarded as a commodity, and that's what I know I am as well. They borrow money. Well, money is means. Okay, I'll go into the word money. When I found this out by Black's Law Dictionary edition, 4th, I went for the early edition. I've got 4th or 5th. It's like what lawyers and barristers use. Do you have as numbers in UK? Yeah, we have a similar system. It's because, like Australia, this video is about, Social Security. Yeah, Social Security. So it's called, in United Kingdom, the company called Department of Works and Pensions. In statute law, they word it as a government. Okay, head office, I looked it up. I got all the prints out years ago. I've got a video going back a couple of years on this channel where I've shown the actual evidence I've got, and I found I think the YouTube channel or the videos are still up to search if one wants to look at it for UK. Is John Harris, It's an Illusion. And he goes into this about the straw man, and it's reference to women, of course. And simplistically, that's when I started learning. And then I started finding videos by Veronica Chapman. And the website's still up. The information is still there. And the template letters I've downloaded and got so much. And it's all about the words and how to notice to principle, notice to agent, it's notice to principle, and it's a certain way it's worded. But when you're dealing with so-called governments and their public servants, you can't use that system. I found that out the hard way. And because, as you said, Chris, they see us as a commodity, as a money, well, the monetary system. Well, look what they're doing in America, the bankruptcy, going back. I'm not an expert in this, by the way, but if you look at, for example, in UK, Bills of Exchange Act 1886 and 1882. And I downloaded that a while ago. I haven't revisited it because I've been so unwell. And in the clause, it's about Ponzi notes. And if you remember, if you take out your dollar and you look at, or paper currency, well, in UK, that's why it's gone plastic currency. And the Bank of England, it says promises to pay, for example, the bearer the sum of on demand, say it's £10, £5 each, because there isn't any, the value of backing of currency, and the keyword currency, water currency, is the equity of your sweat equity, the man or the woman, i.e. you're working. Yeah, you're working, you're paying your taxes, you're paying into the system, just to get by. Now, when it comes to people in my position and the too unwell to work, the national insurance, Social Security, basically, like in the States, but slightly different in America, so in UK, it's called the benefit system. And how they control, and you hear all the time, I don't know what it's like in America, but I just know it's like in UK, it's horrendous. The changes in the welfare state system for social housing, for healthcare, for like for myself, I need major change of personal care, everything is the way the public servants in the job role see, like you just said, Chris, see me as a commodity, a funding stream. So my signature will be creating the value on the offers of contract. So when it says what's happened in your life to wake you up, how long ago? Okay, I started, let me think how long ago really. The basics was when I started listening, before I know about what's going on with Alex Jones in America. when I used to listen to a radio show, and that was very basic things. We're talking about beginning of 2009, and I didn't know much at all about what I'm talking about now. So when I started having, I was looking for a remedy because I got abused in my home, I got blackmailed, I got by certain, allegedly, I'm going to put it this way, but I know I got the proof of everything that went on before. So certain things happened where public servants, I was displaced from here, I was kidnapped from my own home and blackmailed to go into these horrific placements, 3 of them in 2012, and that's what started me investigating about my rights. And that's when I stumbled across certain information and gone down a lot of rabbit holes, made a lot of mistakes, and then I stumbled across, as I said, Veronica Chapman, the website. I started in the letters, I started reading up about definitions of words, I started learning about copy claim seal, your thumbprint seal on documents, the red ink, and I stopped doing that because last year when the state system set me up, they're coming heavily. I didn't notice, not just me, but they're coming down heavily. Anybody allegedly saying, oh, they know certain information, they don't want it to get out. It's got worse than that anyway, but and that was horrendous experience. And in UK, if there's people in my position, the state thinks you're vulnerable, whatever reason, they will use their statute on you. And again, it's all about commodities, as you said, and enforce they're just men and women in the job role, but the state will enforce because they're looking at protection of the trust and the trust created by the birth certificate. So they're looking at financial commodity interests, not really about the man or woman. Because if that was true, so many people that for petty torts, I mean, you could call it crime, but in tort, it's actually a tort law. And I went and investigated about that on medical negligence, by the way. And I looked at what tort law meant as well. So yeah, I tried many theories and many angles, and I found what worked. 2009, in my old 3-bedroom house, it's rented, and I didn't know at the time that I could have bought my home off. It was public funded, bricks and mortar. I rented for 20 years, and my kids grew up there, and they left home and so forth. And I didn't know at the time, in UK, it's called a Locusm Act 2011, means bedroom tax. You're charged extra per room extra you got. I had 3 bedrooms, it's just me. I was able-bodied then. And I was running a couple of businesses and into politics at the time, before what I knew now. So I've got a lot of this background history, the things I did. I did not know that I was being set up because I stumbled across certain information. I can't make that public, by the way, because I'm still in the same area. Well, moved, obviously, but still around certain people that do watch this channel. I know about that. And I uncovered some dark, evil stuff. And that sickens me still all these years on. And what happened, they set me up and they had 3 blokes with black outfits on, and somebody had something like hidden in the jacket. I saw from my middle window late at night and smashed through double glazing front door and threatened my life. And I had to barricade in my old top bedroom, and the police were called. And I found out eventually, after 2 witnesses, good friends of mine that lived in the area, said what they saw eventually. It was horrendous. 2009, never forget that. And the same year, that was bad enough. And temporary accommodation, I lost my house because of that, because I couldn't go back for my safety. And I lost my right to buy because I've had to move. It's called when you're renting, the signing of the contract is one-sided, and in UK how it works is called, in statute law, a tenancy. Well, it's actually a contract, but when you're renting from the state system and you're an agent representing that corporation name with the birth certificate, they've got you, you see. And I didn't know all this at the time, years ago, or a lot of stuff back at even beginning of 2009. And that involved then, unfortunately, certain public servants in the job role. I won't go into all that right now. But temporary accommodation was hell. And I had to find this place myself. And again, I didn't know what I know now when I first moved here. Bad luck or what, by the end of the year, as soon as I moved in, I got run over by a car. So that's when I didn't even know. I still was in that mindset 2009, 2010, 2011. So by 2012, my experience of a care company going bust and all them carers had to stop, and me being had to rush out. So I really did not know what my rights are, and that's why the trauma being in these 3 placements, the care placements, and what I experienced, I won't go into all that right now either, or that time ago. That's what started me learning, really, because I went to all these lawyers and stuff and I got nowhere to get my rights protected and reinstated, and that's when I started learning. So yeah, so it's the basic going through personal trauma, and it hasn't stopped. It's repeated trauma, but now I know what's behind a lot of these things. You put the puzzles together, pieces together, and when you're on the radar, anyone who wakes up to certain information and become, unfortunately, situations beyond your control without you're not at fault. The system, I call it the matrix system, but the state system looks upon people, for example, my situation, as vulnerable. They like all these buzzwords, don't they, to create on their computer systems, their paperwork. And I just downloaded a document earlier about, it's meant to be a vice service for state benefit system, because it's changes again for UK for disabled people, right? It's called personal dependence, PIP for short. Universal credit. It's just why so many people are starving, families, children, and it's all over the mainstream media about it all. It's for so long. And various campaign groups. A lot of these people, what they're doing are bloody good. But they don't know what I know, because unless you claim your life birth record back, you're, as I said, you're entrapped. And that's what is frustrating, because I've everything I know, what I've learned, and people, what they're doing, they're all able-bodied. They've not been in my position with similar people like I, unless you sign under duress, which year of 2018 is a year of abundance. God's are, so I'm reading your comment, Chris, are to get back all that was stolen. Absolutely. Do you know something, Chris? Absolutely. Do you know something? It's really hard to keep that in mind when you're, I don't know about anybody else, but that is very hard to keep in mind when everyday corruption all around you. I don't know if anybody else feels that, but I know for a fact there's a lot of corruption. And there's so many words that I could use to describe what I mean by that, but it's no point, because that's just words. And when you know things and witness things firsthand, and you can't be public about it because you know the comebacks will happen again. It's spiritual, like you say, Chris, before. It is. And when I'd become extremely knowledgeable on a lot of these subjects over the years and put a lot of things into practice, absolutely, that is why it was so refreshing to see a lot of these other people making videos, and they're all being censorship now, aren't they? Absolutely, no matter what. I mean, United Kingdom, my mate's Facebook page, right? There's a comment, she put a comment, not saying who I am, just a comment about my situation, right? Just to say how difficult things are. It's not just me, it's many people like me, by the way, going through similar. And it's a broken system, and they're deliberately breaking it for finance, for commerce, for profit, for those at the top, as you know, Chris. And there's an awakening, isn't there? There's a spiritual awakening, a shift. And I felt that. I live around people that are not waking up like this. And it's just toxic. Like today, for example, it's not a good environment living around here anymore. Sorry, I missed your comment. I'm just going to read that a minute. But God is raising an army and you are part of it. Do you know something, Chris? Absolutely, your comment's true. I'm going to read that out so that people can hear what you just said. It's very prominent. But God is rising in army and you are part of it. We all are. Absolutely, Chris. We all are. And the deception, it's so, in that point of view, I would say be extremely careful what your beliefs are in spirituality. There are so many deceptions in religion as well to be used as a tool. There's so much deception on all types of online format and in daily life. And it's who you can really trust on one hand. Sometimes you can't even trust your own family, your blood family members. But there are families spiritually wise as well. You'll start finding from experience, you'll go through things, you find you get your hands burnt, so to speak, and you get let down and you start to find out. I've been there, I tell you. And still go through things. And you do find out that pastors, preachers, false prophets, I've got a whole blood family full of them. And they just manipulated my adult son and daughter, my grandchildren. And I know one day, I just hope to goodness one day they find their way. Because I did. I mean, I'm not 100% there yet. I've still got a lot of hurdles, but I know spiritually I'll be in a better place eventually, you know. So whatever they do to people like I, and for those that are not in my position, that's what really the stream's was about, meant to be about. It's for those to, if they're able to, financially and practically, to claim their life birth record back for the sake of the next generation. To claim their property back, to claim their life birth record, to set up the trust, to protect it, to protect your assets. And if you're able to, because the system, and I can only go from experience in the United Kingdom. I don't know what it's like now, different parts of the world. It could be similar. But they've tightened everything up to make out people that's waking up in these subjects as conspiracy theorists, the labels, you know. Or you got a mental health disability, or, you know, the DSM manual is so thick now of the word conspiracy is meant to be mental health condition now. It's just so unreal. And when one finds out the truth about psychiatry and big pharma industry on top, it's all one big commerce. It's all finance. It's all one equity. Now, if you can't work and pay taxes and the state system by using that trust number created by the birth certificate, owned by the Vatican, and then on top of that, you know about the geoengineering, weather, solar minimum, GMO foods. It's just one thing after another. So yes, I started off learning about this. I come from experience of I've actually put things into practice, into motion. I've had one success in acceptable value, and that's using the Bill of Exchange Act 882. Acceptable value, return for value, using the national insurance number, and word it such a way. I didn't do it again because I wasn't in a position, and I found out I couldn't do acceptable value again when one is in the position, unfortunately, needing to rely on the state for an income, for your rent, because of your health or disability. And this is why so many thousands, and I don't know what's about different parts of the world, but I only know about what's going on in the UK. As for so many thousands of people are losing their homes, being found fit for work, because that's the agenda, to push disabled people, whatever kind of illness or disability you have, like slaves. No matter what, sit up a desk or something, even one-handed, you could push a pen, that would do. And the welfare state is deliberately, everything's crumbling. So if you are lucky enough to have support network around you, or like thousands of people already doing this, buying land and getting off the grid and so forth. I haven't come across anybody yet, unfortunately, by my research, that is similar position to I, with you really need a network of people around you to help and support those with disabilities or illnesses and the elderly, to have a community network of living off the grid community. There's nothing like that in my area. I'm not in that position to start that either. And as I said, if I'd known all this years ago, I would have not been in the United Kingdom. I would have done all this years ago, but I was in that position to know all this. So I think, in a way, things happen to people for a reason. And yeah, things ain't 100% ideal, but because anybody can lose their life. You look at what happened in Liverpool with that family, their little boy, all over the media, innit? And the state decided to turn off the life support and block them to getting the help they need, abroad, to save an innocent life. And this is why it's so vitally important. But I don't think, in my opinion, those who've already been successful in this area are claiming back the live birth record, and also not signing documents, their property away when they have a child at birth, live birth. And I think the information should be free, how to go about these procedures, because there's so many websites charging a fortune. And don't get me wrong, people need to make an income. But there's thousands of people around the world. It's just so sad to know, not just in the UK, going without, homeless, living in cars. And that's why people turn to substance abuse, drinking drugs and stuff, to hide the pain, the psychological, their sense of the kind of reality, don't think there's a way out. And some people, gosh forbid, do go down the darker side of life. And then, so there's been a lot of people done a lot of work, and some have been successful to get a remedy in claiming the live birth record and being the beneficiary, being a secretary of their own estate, and having the seals, all this paperwork, all this document is so extensive to do. And this guy was charging, as I said, about 10 grand plus. But who's got that? If you're struggling to do 2 or 3 jobs, keep a roof over your head. You're in the system already, paying your taxes wherever you are around the world. Who the hell has got that spare? Unless you're fortunate to save up from if you're working or you've got savings. I mean, when you put anything into a bank, you know, a corporation, the bank, the word bank, if you look what that word really means, when I found that out about the banking industry, the banking system, well, when you deposit your fiat currency into a corporation, into a bank, I mean, this is why it's all gone digital with a Bitcoin and all that now, because they know it's just numbers on a computer, you know, it's digits. Because we go back to the Bills of Exchange Act 1882, you know, and when you read that and know that it's called like a double dipping. The double dipping where the corporations say offer goods and services. Say you got a telephone, a landline, internet provider, whatever. You're paying that every month, you know, your utilities and gas, electric and stuff like that. You're paying that every month, right? And what you're paying it with, or a credit card, or you're putting cash into a bank and direct debits, standing orders. It's all to do with digits on a computer at the end of the day, isn't it? And it's like with the benefit system, the way that it's all changed. It's all to be going on computer. And digits, numbers on computer, where the system, I call it the beast system as well sometimes, where where these men and women behind the scenes, whoever they are, with the computer technology they have, and they want to create the chip in it, you know, you hear about all that, they call it the mark of the beast, to create the chip in your arm or in your body, you know, if you're not already got so much going on with your health. So, for example, the bank has got this cashless symbol on bank cards. So you just swipe it. It's all just to get you used to swiping the chip in your arm or your hand to pay for things. Sorry, I've got the phone in a different position. Let me just turn this around. Let me just... So it just said, Chris, if you don't pay the world again, which is Satan's offer, you won't be successful. Absolutely. And do you know something also, right, Chris? The word successful is different definitions. Oops, I've gone round with the phone. Strange again. But the price is too high. It is absolutely too high price to pay for, isn't it? You know something? If I hadn't the grounding and upbringing in the sense of making do, like I was in a generation where I was brought up with nothing, you know, you make do with what you got, you don't throw away like it is now, throwaway society, isn't it? You make do with the basics you got, you learn how to store foods, and that's why there's all these food banks in UK. Food banks, so the benefit system cuts you off where you're going to get your food. For example, if there's a digital system where when we had this snow in UK, right, there's all these major like sensationalism stories. Oh, stores cannot, you know, shops can't get their loads of foods, but how do you know they're not GMO? There's limitations in my area where you can get non-GMO foods. You know, you call it markets, flea markets, or whatever in UK, the States. Certain parts, depending where you live, I suppose, in, you know, different parts of the world, you know, you cannot longer get the ingredients to have organic, healthy type. I can only do the bare minimum now, unless you grow your own. And when you're in my position, you got no health, and you're not in that environment to be able to have that situation to grow your own herbs or foods. When I was raised, my mother, we had a garden, and that's what we did. We had food all year round, you know, different seasonal vegetables. She was very good at teaching us needlework. You know, we had old coal shed, you know, the old coal system, the old coal fire. I mean, this is going back years, I know, not that many years, but the old system way of doing things. Nowadays, everything, that's why it's all gone digital. And that's why they want to bring in smart meters, 5G as well, technology. Because they want everything, everybody, not just about your birth, you know, the control of the birth certificate, your name, connection with the Vatican. They want to control every aspect of your life, every movement. And yes, 1984 is already been and gone. It's worse than that, isn't it? So that's why it's so important to get right within yourself, spiritually wise, because we all got our situations and all different lifestyles and problems, and some people are more fortunate than others. But it is easy to. I see it. I observe things. Yes, absolutely. The radiation, definitely. That concerns me, right? Because you think about it, that I see patterns. I don't know why I happen to observe these things. But I know what is planned for me. It is a bigger picture, not just about me. Their system want people to push, instead of paying for people's home support, right, in your own home, they want to push people like me with high complex needs into care, private run environments, profit making, private companies, where you're not always going to get the care, equality of care, but then you're going to have the technology in there, smart meters. You could be by a tower and the radiation effects and you get ill anyway. At least I've had the opportunity, in my opinion, to know all this. I'm not an expert in anything, by the way. I'll just observe it. And I know now, obviously more than ever, that I be spiritually, you know, preparing the inner soul, as I'm going to put it, spiritually. Because practically, there's nothing more I can do in my own situation. And there's thousands of other people like me. Because, for example, I was looking at these, all these so-called charities are not. They are set up as companies, profit-making companies, and your signature on their documents, you're under their jurisdiction, their control. So therefore, they're in one particular so-called advice charity, their funding stream comes from, again, UK government. They're not going to be independent to help the individual genuinely what they need. They will give the impression and use words and behaviours to give the impression. And it's limited where you are, wherever you are in UK, the postcode lottery. So knowing what I know and what I've seen and who's connected to who, because when you do research, I have a PR research background. So when you've done some research and you find out who's connected to who, they're all in it together. Public servants and private limited companies, and there's like the linking app, business linking app. So when you do research, you know who's connected to who. You go, oh my goodness me, no matter where I go, I'm going to get the same, you know, I'm going to have the same hurdles. So it's like you're going into the lion's den, no matter what you do. And if one is, as I said, fortunate to have backup family and friends to support you in hard times, then that's a godsend, you know. And the reason I have certain family members that deliberately blocked a certain member of my family, it's just sad where the way, not true Christian nature, a certain family member of mine is, he's trained in holistic programming. It's all to do with mind and psychology and manipulating people's thoughts and minds, behaviours. And he had government funding, so-called government funding for years. And I've only found that out like 2 months ago. And when I thought, well, hold on, why my son stopped talking to me? 4 months, what's going on? You know, it's a bit odd. And I started finding out things. And I started finding out, putting the puzzle together. So, but unfortunately, it's a shame because my granddaughter's only 1. And I got other two grandchildren. Well, another grandson, I don't say, because that's my son's first partnership he had with somebody a while ago. So yeah, it's I wished I could got through to them, but the mindsets of my certain family members, and I can't say much about it because they got their own son and daughters are grown up, got kids of their own, and they're still in this cult mentality. They think it's their opinion because they're closed mindsets. It's in their eyes a true church. And I know they mean well, but they're not, because you don't turn your back on your own family, who's the only one that's now wheelchair dependent full time and really, really not well. And the only reason my elderly mother gets support, what she needs, because she's always been heavily involved in this particular cult. And when I've done my research about it all years ago, I found out it's a corporation in Utah, and it's worldwide now. So they have all these PR people making sure they don't get bad reputation all the time and cover things up when things go, PR machine kind of thing. So it's up to anyone out there what you want to believe in, what you want to do. But I say you start on one subject, well, a few of them over the years I have, and then you start finding things out and you connect the dots, and then you find your own certain separation friends you used to have. You just leave them aside because it's a shame that they don't get you, and they're, as I said, sometimes you can only count a certain amount of friends on one hand. I've got a neighbour. It's frustrating. I wanted to have something. I can't do any screw driving and set up this new office unit thing to just try and make things a little bit easier to access, but knowing my health, I'm so weak, I've had to put it off. Well, why did I come into that subject? I don't know. Oh yeah, about friends. This particular neighbour of mine, I could count on him as a source, as a kindness, because he's got unseen disabilities, and yet over the years since I've been here, I've seen things about him and other people, but now, apart from him, I know of people that are able-bodied around here, right? And it's just like the minds are, I have to go to work, I have to do this, I have to do that to survive. And that's the mentality of the majority of people, isn't it? When they're not waking up to what's going on as various subjects. And sometimes you can't, sometimes it's not wise to focus on too many things. Picking what's important to your own situation, and it only comes from my experience, by the way. I mean, meditation, I think that's what I'm exhausted as well, actually, today. Meditation last night. And luckily I've got certain CDs with nature. I love nature, so I think a lot of pressure on people generally is that they've got to survive, they've got to play the system in commerce, work, family, friends. It's like it's a conveyor belt system. I've always looked at it this way, really. It's like the calendar, depend all the different time zones around the world, yeah. But when I've observed weather cams, it's your gift of calling. That's why you notice things. You like Moses, use what's into your hand. Thank you ever so much. That's kind of you to say that. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. It's we all got our awakening, our little gifts, and depending on personal circumstances, it's how one can actually put it into practice. Now, I know personally, I go into the lion's den, like signing my signature on the state documents, the joinder, and I'll be doing it V.C _ by force and cohesion. That's what that means. But also knowing the fact how these individuals will react to me and how the data sharing happens for people in my situation. So there's a phone call yesterday, as I said. I don't know if I deleted that stream or kept it. I can't remember now. But I sussed information out today that this individual female I spoke to yesterday had informed me to go to such a place on Monday, but this place she suggested is not in the time offer services I can do. So it'd be going to a place where I know who works there, who they are upon previous experience, and I know they are not of a spiritual kind nature, if you get my drift, and especially towards me. And it's always discriminatory, and it's always negative, and it's not impartial, because one guy that works there, he's also an advocate, and this female yesterday was a advocate service for this community care, healthcare thing I need situation. And I found out today it's her colleague. This bloke is her colleague. And he's actually not independent, because he's also employed and contracted by the local public services to do mental health advocacy for people. But yet he's also working for welfare benefits and debt device services. That's another subject, by the way. The debt doesn't exist because it's a system, your signature, creating on the document, which is you're agreeing to pay such and such for your for like the use of goods and services, phones, internet, whatever you need to pay for, food, stuff, gas, electric, right? But the benefit system stops. You can't do that. And in UK, the sanctioning, it's just cruel, it's evil. It's making people starve and come to such distress. And then these advice services, I just downloaded the document, I read up. They are more interested, the employees employed, and the CEO and the director of this so-called advice service set up as a company, basically. But they don't let on to the public they are a company. They just portray their advice service. But when you dig up this information, people get so bogged down with not knowing which way to pay, because they can't pay their way, they can't survive, they've got no food, they've got ill health, and they're relying on these services. So it's overstretched now. And the amount of waiting times, but yet, like this woman said the other day, oh, just go along. But I found out this particular advice service can offer home visits for housebound people. Well, I'm in that position, so I was never informed that they do that. And so to get a home visit would be like 2 people, not 1. That is it, Chris. That is what I was going to come to. Yeah, absolutely as well, I mentioned. Because unless you won't, this is why a lot of people are already doing this, aren't they? Living off the grid, and they've got the help to do it, and that's what I find frustrating. I'd love to be able to do all that. You look at the way the technology is with the drones, you know, like with Amazon doing all this delivery with drones and all sorts. Oh my goodness me, it just makes me sick. In the sense of how the technology with a chip, and you won't be able to buy anything, operate in anything in commerce without the mark, you know, without the chip, without linking up with the digital services, especially, like I just said earlier, with UK benefit system, housing system, anything, you know, like that. So that's why it's so important to be spiritually, you know, in tune with whatever belief systems one does have. And or if they don't know, or haven't found your spiritual essence within oneself, is to do that now. And I've been on this spiritual journey in my own way for 3 years. And I have, how do I say this? If it helps anybody that's going through things themselves and struggling. If I've come through so much, I'm a survivor. That's what I call myself. Observer and a survivor. If I've come through so much as a child, all my life, in many situations, good, bad, the ugly. Trauma in horrendous situations. I can't make public a lot of it because it's just too much, you know, to go through. And you don't sense there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel when you're in dark places in your mindset. Listen for an answer after you pray. You may every hindrance be removed from your life now. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. It's true. When you listen to your small voice, a small still voice in oneself, and also trust your gut instinct, not always think with your head, because that can mess you about sometimes if you're not feeling right. Take a moment for yourself and listen, and like Chris just said, pray in your own way. And we all got our own ways of doing that. My way as well is meditation. And it's not for everybody. And knowing that just listen and one thing at a time. It's not easy when you got pressures all at once, and it's learning the skill. It's very hard. I'll tell you that. I'm going for it. To prioritize one thing at a time. With so much going on in everyone's life, and generally the bigger picture of things too. So I'm going to end this on the point where those that are not aware of the Vatican, of the birth certificate, and who you really are as a natural man or woman, and your own property, your children, with a grown up, you know. It's for those that do have their health, and to look at in your where you are. I mean, I'm not saying what to do, but to look at if you're in that position. It's not about self, it's about looking out for one another. That's who you're able to trust, and it's very careful when you do that, because people, unfortunately, are still dumbed down. It's not their fault, because that's the way the system wants people in commerce to be like that, to just go along with everything. But there's a lot, I've observed a lot of people, not just certain ones I know about already, but online there's a lot of people doing this, and in different formats. But don't forget, if you are in a situation wherever you are around the world, to build your own sense of community network and help those less fortunate practically, and build a network of community, because the state, when it crashes, and it will in many ways you might not visualize, you won't, like for example, you won't have the NHS, you won't have the benefit system, the housing system, And then what? So it's looking about your skills. You might remember, and you know, like I see videos about bushcraft, you know, camping out, making do with the natural environments, but also be aware the way the weather manipulates your solar minimum. You know, these skills, like for example, the community, you know, these people, Eskimos, you know, the lifestyle in certain areas around the world, they've not relied on the state system for anything. Sorry, I missed that comment. You must break every spiritual connection or soul. Let me just read that come up again, Chris. You must break every spiritual connection or soul tied created in your past from your parents, ECT, and renounce anything that is not God's will for your life. That's on Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. I've started doing that a while ago, Chris. And so many others out there, similar position, because it's toxic. It's like you don't want to go around with a heavy load or negativity in one's back, so to speak, because that will drag you down to their level. And if you rise above it when you're able to, because not everybody is, and that's able to do that in their life yet. But I've come to that situation already. It's hard work, but you're right, Chris. So anyone out there, as I said, keep up your good work, what you're doing, because there's a lot of us waking up. There is an awakening, and it's already happening. It will help a lot if you can whisper it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And like you just said one time, Chris, when I saw that harp where the modification of the sky, and you made a comment that time, didn't you? You see spirit, it was spirits up there. Well, I know what you mean by that. Oh, I definitely know what you mean by that. I've had so many years seeing what I've seen out there. And in a way, good job, I still got my sight. Because people don't sometimes, do they? And soon I won't have my speech when I need the operations I need. So for now, that's what I have to say. Mainly be aware of who you really are. Yeah, good to hear from you too, Chris. I hope you're well and hope you got better weather than I have in the UK. And I need to rest and switch off now. But yeah, I spread my God be with you too. And, you know, whatever you're going through, if you're going through anything. And anyone out there, you're not alone. Yeah, take care. And you're not alone out there, whatever we're thrown upon us. Be aware about the negativity out there and what is going on. And you find your way eventually, but it's hard work, so just persevere. And as I said, check out the videos. John Harris, It's an Illusion, Veronica Chapman, Contract Law versus Common Law. If you'd like to go in that journey and you're able to do something about it yourself. So for now, I'm signing out. Bye.